Real Nerds is a proud partner of the Denver Podcast Network. In the shadow of the mountains,
we speak.
Hello, everybody. I'm JD Lopez, the host of Left Hand Right Brain. It's a free-flowing, wide-ranging conversation that I have with artists doing interesting and creative things here in Denver and beyond. We talk about their personal stories, break down their creative process, and what motivates them. Spoiler alert, it's mostly spite. We talk about all these things and more while kicking back, cracking wise, and always having a good time. You can find old episodes and everything you need to know at lefthandrightbrainpod.com.
Oh, hi, podcast listeners. There's many ways you can listen to the Real Nerds podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can also subscribe on Stitcher Radio. You want to send us a Twitter message? You can do that. It's so easy, at Real Nerds. Like us on Facebook, Real Nerds Podcast. You can visit our website, realnerdspodcast.com, where there'll be a lot of articles for you to not only read, but to listen to our previous shows. You can also call us, 720-6nerds5. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the show.
Hi, this is Jonathan Tiersten from The Perfect House and Sleepaway Camp, and you are listening to the Real Nerds Podcast.
Welcome to another Real Nerds Podcast interview from Denver Pop Culture Con 2019. Hope you enjoy.
Welcome to Real Nerds Podcast live from Denver Pop Culture Con 2019. I am joined here by Caleb. Caleb, say hi to the folks.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. So, Caleb, you're a movie buff.
Yes.
Is what you told me when you came up to our booth. So tell me, what's the best movie you've seen this year thus far? Off the top of your head.
Off the top of my head, it actually does have to be Avengers Endgame, mostly because, and I have seen a fair amount of movies this year. Most of them I didn't find to be entertaining beyond a single viewing.
Okay.
Whereas Avengers, I've seen it multiple times. It's been worth the price of admission, probably because of a bit of fanboyisms inside of me.
How many times total count, would you say?
5 times.
5? Okay, you're one above me. None of us have beat Brad here, one of our guys here at the booth. He's gone 9 times, is it, Brad?
9 times.
10, wow. So Kevin Feige's very happy with him right now. So, like, what is it about Endgame for you that, like, transcends it above the other films this year?
Well, one was the conclusion of the arcs for each of the characters. You know, with most of the films I have seen so far this year, I guess it is a bit of unfair disadvantage. Marvel had 22 films building up to Endgame, you know, so it was kind of easier for them. Where these other films, they have to start the arc and conclude it within 2 hours.
Exactly.
But, I don't know, maybe it's just easier for Endgame. I just found the character arcs better, and it was just more entertaining. Like, that third act, one of the best third acts I have ever seen, hands down, and I've seen Lord of the Rings, and that's right up there with it.
One of our co-hosts who isn't here this weekend, he says it's one of the greatest achievements in filmmaking history when we did our review. And I would actually agree with him in the scheme of just how, one, that third act, but two, just how big the scope is in total. So. Oh,
absolutely. I mean, the cinematography used and the CGI effects, along with just the grand scale, and so many characters. Nobody's ever tried that before on such a grand scale. I mean, and I don't even know if Marvel themselves could top that. That's going to be a feat that will be. I mean, I remember back when Return of the King came out, and everyone was talking about how epic that final act was, and says, "Oh, nothing will top that." Endgame's right up there with it now. So.
Oh, absolutely. I'd even say it surpassed it in terms of its pop culture relevance and how it's expanded over the past 10 years, now 11 years, actually.
Yes.
I mean, it's pretty incredible. Well, with Endgame, though, like, for you as a film goer, I'm curious, because when I saw the 3-hour runtime, I was like, oh, cool. And then I was like, wait, there might be a bunch of people here who are not going to go sit for 3 hours in a movie. Was it a deterrent for you at all?
Oh, no. I remember walking out of Infinity War thinking, there is no way that this next film won't be at least 3 hours, because with so much to wrap up, and they got to find a way to reverse Thanos' snap. They got to find a way to get all the stones. They got to bring all these people back. I said, with whatever they do, there's no way it won't be at least 3 hours. When I heard it was 3 hours, I said, yes, this is going to be epic, and I know some people did complain about that, and I said, well, then if you complain about that, just not as invested in it.
Yeah, your kidneys can wait, guys. I mean, like, you
just don't get a drink.
Yeah,
that's what I did. I said, not getting a drink, not getting a snack. I'm just gonna wait.
Or another tip on it: sip water like lightly. Just keep your mouth hydrated. Don't need to gulp it down. The thing that amazed me about the film is how like intimate it is and how small it is in comparison to other Avengers films, and yet by the third act it does become massive, but it is very much a character piece all the way through.
Which, honestly, some people, I think surprised most people is that the first half is rather slow.
Yeah.
People were expecting, okay, right from the get-go, they're going for Thanos. This is going to be an easy, all-out brawl. but I liked the idea that it was slow because I said the ending of Infinity War sort of felt like a shock, kind of like a funeral, as one person I saw described it.
Yeah.
Like they're letting it sink in because Thanos has won. The first act is people coping with that, and I appreciated that they took the time to do that, to say, let's not have all-out action. Let's see what the world looks like when they're dealing with the fallout of defeat.
It's true. One of the most intelligent scenes in that film is having a support group and just having them sit around and discuss this situation that's happened.
And they, for once, had the superheroes trying to deal with their own defeat, not thinking of a plan. You would think the Avengers would be thinking of new plans to try to reverse the damage or maybe help the world get better, but no, they're just thinking, maybe we should just get a life. Maybe the world doesn't really need us anymore.
It's a lot of dealing with regret in that, and the thematic is just trying to like reverse that regret, but it still sticks with them regardless. By the time you get to the end of Cap's arc, like he goes back to fix that regret once and for all. So having said this with you, you seem to be very oriented towards the epic films. Like, what are your favorite genres of film?
Sci-fi, definitely sci-fi. I actually like fantasy films when they're done correctly. I like fantasy films.
This is a good discussion. When do you think they're done correctly?
Lord of the Rings is an example of how to do it when they don't just focus on showing cool things. I mean, yes, we like seeing unique settings and unique creatures, but also let us get invested with these characters, because when we're invested in the characters and we're put in a very good story, then we feel like we're part of that world. We feel like we're a part of their journey, whereas, say, oh boy, I might get some flack for this, but for the Hobbit films, they did focus too much on grand scale, just showing these unique creatures like the pale orc and these cool things like Smaug. It was cool and all, but for me, I wasn't as invested in the story or the characters as I was with the Lord of the Rings films.
I feel like with the Hobbit films, we didn't get immersed enough the way we needed to properly. I mean, I don't know. I think they're also because I'm aware of the Hobbit as a single book that is relatively easy to do it at least in two parts, if not just a one.
Well, I actually read the book. Took me about, in total, 6 hours to read that book.
Yeah.
It didn't, and the spiders were actually shown in the second movie. They were shown, I got them in chapter 6, and I was thinking, I expected that to be much later in the book. I expected me to take a long time to read that book, but after I read the book, I'm thinking, really? They made 3 movies out of this?
It's pretty incredible. There's a book you might want to check out about Peter Jackson and the making of the Lord of the Rings movies and The Hobbit. Yep. The last half of it, or the last quarter of it, is dedicated to The Hobbit. Yeah. But it definitely goes into detail on that whole scale, and also how unions and union strikes down in New Zealand kind of contributed to a bit of a tension on set. So it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah.
Fantasy, though, has that realm expanded to? Are you a Game of Thrones fan? Or
actually, funny story. I watched a couple episodes and I said, nothing's wrong. I'm just not getting into this.
Yeah.
So I never got into Game of Thrones for some reason. I watched a couple episodes and I thought, I just can't get into this. And I don't know why. Nothing was wrong with it. There was nothing bad, nothing I hated.
It's just not your cup of tea.
No, it just wasn't. But when I heard the fan reactions to the last few episodes, I'm like, so I'm guessing I didn't miss too much other than a lot of fan rage.
And everybody gets passionate about it. I tend to say, you know what? If you have a problem with the ending of a show, then work your ass off to get to Hollywood, and then you can go write for their staff,
But I've seen that, too. I've had a show that I felt that I used to love, but then I kind of felt disinterested during the final few episodes of a certain season, and then I just kind of stopped watching. I'm like, they're just recycling storylines.
What show was it?
That was The Walking Dead for me. To me, season 6 was the beginning of the end. I mean, it was so slow for the first few episodes, and then they really built up Negan a ton, only to show him for 5 minutes, and then, of course, in typical, the most manipulative way possible, make you wait 8 months to see what happens. And I had no problem with them killing certain characters, just the way they handled it. I'm like, the reason why it worked in the comics is it was one person. It was one person. That's what made it work. Here in the comics, it's like if you kill one person, you break their morale. If you kill 2 of them, you're almost kind of daring them to come after you. Now, I get the idea, to break morale of the group. But then to me, it just, I remember thinking, this is the governor from season 3 all over again. Think about it. Big, intimidating enemy. They're thinking, wait, how can we fight him? How can we fight him? And they build it up until the last episode. Okay, now we're going to go fight him. After so much downtime.
They are in a kind of a loop with it. And I like the work that Nicotero and the guys from KMB do on that show from a visual standpoint. But with story, I was a little disinterested from the get-go, to be honest.
Season 9, I thought, could have been more interesting because I'm like, okay, we're going to get a power struggle here. But Maggie wasn't in it too much, and I thought, shouldn't she be the pivotal character of this season? Because the end of season 8 hinted at that.
Right.
That she was going to start a power struggle with Rick. Now it's like, okay, where'd she go? I was just distant. After season 5, it kind of fell off for me, and I'm like, maybe you should cut it off at this point.
Yeah, it's fun that we get a zombie show every week on the air that is that violent and that intense. But
give it credit, it did help make zombies as popular a medium as they are. But for AMC to say this could go on forever, I'm like, have you checked the fans' ratings?
I don't know. The spin-offs could work, but like if you're sticking with that core group, I don't know if it's gonna like last too much longer.
Well, because now of the core group, you only have a couple characters left: Carol and Michonne and Daryl, and that's pretty much it at this point.
And I thought Daryl was leaving at this season, or
I don't know,
remember. But anyway,
yeah, you're losing all your main actors. It's like, who's our main focus on?
And if they let it go at the end of the day, like maybe that would make me sit down and be like, okay, well, let's take a look at the whole spectrum here of what went wrong.
Absolutely.
Well, outside of all that, like, what are you looking forward to coming out for the remainder of the year? Like, Endgame's a hard thing to top.
Oh, I'm actually looking forward to that action film, 21 Bridges. I'm kind of a sucker for contained action thrillers. Like, yesterday I went to go see John Wick 3. I loved the original 2 John Wick movies. I thought they were the best action thrillers that had come out in recent years. And even though it was extremely over the top, I loved John Wick 3. I'm looking forward to 21 Bridges. I think that'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to Rise of Skywalker, absolutely, because I'm a sucker for Star Wars stuff. And in terms of DC films, I don't know. I mean, I like Shazam.
Yeah,
I like Shazam.
We love Shazam here. It was an unexpected fun time.
I've said DC kind of ditched the idea of crossovers for a while. Just stick with solid solo movies. You seem to be good at that. Just ditch the crossovers for a while.
Agreed, although I will say the crossovering that they did in Shazam was non-intrusive, and I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it just enough.
I'm also looking forward to Spider-Man Far From Home because Spider-Man's he was my favorite hero growing up as a kid. He's always been my favorite Marvel character, so yes, I'm so looking forward to seeing Spider-Man.
I am too, especially seeing what happens post-Endgame with that.
I honestly thought, I didn't know where it was going to take place in the timeline, but seeing the new trailer, I'm like, at first I was a little upset, but then I thought, you know what, this will be good for his arc. He gets to deal with the death of the closest thing he had to a father since the death of Uncle Ben, and you know, one thing that has always been prevalent with the Peter Parker character is you feel a lot of sympathy for him. The kids, he lost his real parents, then he lost his Uncle Ben, and now he lost who was basically another father to him. It's like, God, this poor kid.
Yeah.
So now we get to see how he deals with that.
And I'm actually curious on that front how we're going to deal with Sam Jackson carrying on past Iron Man, because that's going to be an interesting little feat to go.
Though there is a part of me that was thinking, I saw the new suits in Far From Home, I'm like, why wouldn't he just stick with the Iron Spider suit in this case? I mean, it worked in the Galactic War to save the universe. Why wouldn't you just stick with that suit? But I also get it. Some of the stealth suits, I think the designs are unique.
And also, it does kind of fall in line with the theme of, like, the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man only needs your basic suit. You're going to be good to go. But if we're dealing with multiverse theory, who knows, you know?
The multiverse idea, I was wondering if that would ever come up. which leaves the gate for the MCU wide open if they ever decide to expand on that. They could. There's a multiverse opens up so many doors, and with Into the Spider-Verse, we saw what you could do with it if you do it correctly. So I'm excited to see what they do with the multiverse.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Caleb, for coming to sit down with us and chat about films and whatnot.
Absolutely.
Does anybody, if you have anything to plug or anything you want to chat, or do you just like movies and wanted to shout it out?
Oh, I just like movies and wanted to shout it out, basically.
Right on. Well, thank you, Caleb. I really appreciate you coming down and talking with us.
Thank you for having me.
This has been Caleb talking with me, Zach, on the Real Nerds Podcast live from Denver Pop Culture Con 2019.
This has been another Real Nerds Podcast interview from Denver Pop Culture Con 2019. See you next year.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Real Nerds Podcast. Real Nerds Podcast is a production of Nebulous Visions Multimedia. Thank you to Sparks Mandrill and Plan 9 Studios for our kick-ass theme song. Also, if you're in the Denver area and you're looking for a cool place to see movies, we see them at the Alamo Draft House in Littleton and now also in Sloan's Lake. Thank you to Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics for supplying us with all our comic needs, especially you, Andrew. You know who you are. And a big shout out to James's mom. I'm giving you an electronic hug that you can feel through the airwaves. Thanks for listening, and have a nice day.